seeds of insecurity started to manifest. I replayed that memory over and over and over again in my mind. Initially, I just wanted to dive in the fire and just wish I killed myself at that point of time. If I had ended my life then, I know that I wouldn't have felt the pain, the agony, the hardships that followed later on. The feeling of your own mother abandoning you, the one who gave birth to you, a mother who's supposed to protect you, but just left you in this world. For the longest time, I blamed myself. I thought she committed suicide because of me. I thought I had done something and I just lay helpless. There have been numerous times I've cut myself, I've hurt myself just so that the feeling inside wouldn't be numb, so I could feel something else. Where I wish ending my life was the only hope. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forgive myself. Self-loathing began to creep in, and bit by bit it started engulfing me. I gave in to my fears. I believed I was not good enough. I believed I was the curse, and everything I touched would be destroyed. It took me constant self-talk day in and day out, with every conscious breath not to be pessimistic. I still have my bad days, but most days are good. That's what's important, right? I went through a lot of therapy, and finally I realize now that it was never about me, it was about her. And to this day, I feel so bad that the fact in this whole world she had no one to talk to, no one could help her. I now understand that I cannot change the past or worry about the future. The only present moment is here and it's now. You're not your mistakes, you're not your problems. You're not your past. You have the power to make your wounds into wisdom. Don't ever let the past define you. You can heal, you're not alone. Just remember, nothing and no one in this world is worth your life. Your life is your own. You are here for a reason. Death will come when it needs to. Till then, live for yourself. You're a masterpiece in the making. Your color is needed in this world. Don't ever forget that. Thank you.
Of the Year, Corporate Leadership Awards, Businessman of the Year, CNN IBN Indian of the Year, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Padma Shri, Mr. Dilip Sanghvi.
So, Dr. Chhabria, Dr. Shetty, guests and friends. When Dr. Chhabria suggested that I speak to all of you on suicide, so from my point of view, when I look at our society and look at the problems that are serious but underappreciated, then suicide will be one of the important area that we genuinely don't know its implication and its impact on the society. Almost 1/3 of the suicide in the world are committed in India. And it's a death that we can prevent or we can avoid. And as I heard Natasha say before me, is that nothing is worth giving your life. So it's important for the message that Dr. Chhabria wants to reach out to public, also all of us, is that suicide is not the solution, it's not the answer. And if you read the book, I think she articulates very well many situations in which people attempt suicide, financial difficulty, failure in love, failure in any relationship, exams, and many situations where people are unable to cope with the pressure on which they are unable to find solution to, where if we can help them understand that if they talk to people, because under stress people end up taking very highly emotional decisions without any rational approach as well as logic. So if we can reach out to these people and help them understand, and I think book helps you look at issue in that perspective, that there are solutions and there are alternatives that we don't consider, or the patient or the person who is attempting suicide doesn't consider. And if he's counseled, if he's able to reach out to people. So I actually have been discussing with Dr. Chhabria about helpline, suicide helpline, maybe for a long time. And that hasn't happened, but I think a much more specific actionable agenda that she has been able to work with is to give an instrument to both practitioners and also to the patients and to society at large, that how can we work towards addressing this major problem that we have in the society. So
good evening, friends. It's very heartening to see all of you in such large numbers here. I think it's a testimony to Anjali's great popularity, but I also think it is because all of us do realize that the topic of this book, death is not the answer, is something that we need to take really, really seriously. Death is not the answer is not a self-help book, but I think it is a book whose time has come, and it will be very invaluable to talk about it, to share it. I really applaud the courage of the speakers before me to share what has been a personal journey of trauma and then celebration. And I'm so deeply moved by it that I think that we really need no more except to salute you and your spirit, and thank you very, very much, both of you, and also Shefali, who was here. The first time I encountered suicide was when I was in the 9th standard. And I'll read you a little bit from there. She stopped at the yet-to-be-completed building, walked up 14 floors, then made her way to the terrace. She counted the steps to the edge of the building, looked down at the minuscule people going about their daily chores, and then climbed down. The next day she repeated the exercise. On the 3rd day, she jumped to her death. She was my classmate, bright, intelligent, vivacious. The school was stunned into silence. Then the gossip mill started doing the rounds. She was a lesbian, and that explained her suicide. Till this day, I have no idea whether that conjecture was true or not. But even if she was, so what? The cruel fact is that at the age of 14, she had no one to guide her or talk her out of the darkness she felt engulfed by. Suicide fundamentally is an escape from an unbearable situation that is ironically a self-protective move, writes Dr. Anjali Chhabria. Self-protective? If only. If only. Be it a broken heart, insecurity, failure in an examination, financial constraints, rejection from a friend, standing atop a building and jumping into your death should not be the way out. There is help, seek it. This is the message which not just the youth but all individuals who are vulnerable need to understand. Yes, life will not pan out the way we imagine it will, and there will be times when we may not be in a mental condition to make the best decisions for ourselves. It is especially at times like this that we need to reach out to those who can help us rethink and reconsider. There is always another option. It has been said here before that in our society there is this unspoken fear that the minute you talk about a mental illness, people will look at you as mad and they will make fun of you, they will deride you, which is why people do not treat mental illness in the same way that you would a physical illness. You would, if you had a heart problem, you would go to the doctor. If you had a headache, you would go to the doctor. So why, when it is a physical, when it is a mental illness, do we worry about it so much? This book is an attempt to make us understand that there should be absolutely no shame attached to it. And one of the things that Anjali told me that came as a real surprise to me was when I said that, you know, how do we recognize that somebody is sort of has a tendency to commit suicide? And she said they talk about it. And that came as a huge surprise to me, because you know how we are. If somebody talks about suicide, we say, "Itna drama kar rahi hai, aise thodi koi baat karta hai." She would commit suicide. Now that is the wrongest thing. You have to pick up that signal. If somebody talks about suicide, that person needs help. This is something that we should all realize. In recent times, it's been said a lot that there are so many actors who are committing suicide. What is the reason for this? There's much speculation. There's always some TV actress that you hear about and then you say, oh, she had a boyfriend and there was a problem over there. Some kind of thing saying that, you know, there must be some tendency because she is an actor, that there must be something mad. Recent times, Robin Williams actually, when he committed suicide, it came as such a shock, because I mean, here was this person who had brought humor into their lives, whose sensitive portrayal in Dead Poets Society, you believed that he had life at his fingertips. I have my own understanding, and that's what I'd like to share with you. Acting is a very demanding profession. It demands that the actor remain in a state of perpetual emotional preparedness, ready to explode at the command, start, sound, camera, action. Shot done, she is expected to effortlessly push back the emotional upheaval into storage and function normally. We are consistently asked to do the opposite of what civilized behavior asks us to do. Civilized behavior says control your emotions, don't show them. What does acting say? At the click of a button, emotion number 36, nikal ke aao, ha, ro ke, then finally go back to being completely normal. Oh, haste raho, and go back to life which is completely different. It has to take its toll. If you are a serious actor and if you're looking for your resources from life itself, these emotionally draining moments really take their toll on